Hi, hello, welcome back to the So Connected podcast. My name is Sophia, and thank you so much for joining me today. This podcast discusses topics that leave you feeling more connected to yourself and to the world around you. And today I'm following up on our last episode where I was asked questions, but my camera was like, cut it out. So, um, Yeah, let's get back into that question that I was asked in the last episode. The last question, actually. I was asked. I was asked what got me into this career. And this question came from my Instagram. So if you don't follow me over there, on Instagram, I am there as a coach. Even though I'm not taking clients, I still have that in my profile. So I'm assuming that's what this person meant of what got me into the career of coaching. But I said it was a story time because this is not something that I ever thought I would be doing, like coaching people or even just being in the healthcare field. I really didn't think that was for me. I didn't think that when I was growing up. I have to be clear in the time when I didn't think that. So, the story time of that is, well, the intention of this story is for you to see that our path, like our we write our path. You write your path. And our experiences also decide and affect our path, but the choices that you make based off of your experiences write your path. So I was born and raised in Uganda, which needs to be stated because I say that because the Ugandan system and the American system, the educational system, they're not the same. Uganda follows the British system or the UK system or Europe. Let me say Europe. UK, Britain, all of that. That's what Uganda follows. And then when I moved here when I was 19, I moved straight to college. Like when I came here, I enrolled in community college. During that time, I didn't know what I was going to do because I came from Uganda. In high school, my classes were focused more on the arts, like history. I did history, entrepreneurship, economics, Islam. But even prior to that, that's like A level. But even in O level, most of the things I was doing or that I was good at were more in the arts. I do know that I was always good at English, history. Those two and math. Math. I finally got there with math. So those three subjects are things that I focused on at the time. But when you talk about physics, chemistry, biology, that was not for me. Like I did the classes just to pass the exams, but I don't think I was interested. But when I look back, it's not that I wasn't interested. It's the style of teaching. In Uganda, we are taught to cram. You are taught to memorize, not to understand. So I crammed a lot, but I did not understand a lot of things. And because I didn't understand, I thought that maybe I wasn't smart enough or maybe I didn't care enough like the other students. So I wrote off those sciences. Honestly, I never ever thought that I would come into healthcare or anything like that. It's important to say that because I really wish you knew. I was going to do when I graduated, well, not graduated high school, but I guess you can say graduated because that's what Americans do. But when you complete high school, when I completed high school in Uganda, my coming to America was still pending, so I wasn't sure. I was accepted in Makerere University. Now, in that university, I got business administration as my major because that's what I thought I would be doing. Like, I was raised by business women. All my uncles are business people. Everyone around me growing up was someone who owned a business. So I thought that that was my path. Like, duh, it was automatic. Like, why am I even thinking about what I want to do? When I was a kid, if you asked me what I wanted to do, I used to say I talked about journalism a lot. I talked about media and journalism is those are things I used to say. I used to say journalist. I want to be a journalist. I want to read the news. At some point when I wanted to be on the plane, I talked about being an air hostess. Um, yeah, but now I realize that those things were not actually rooted in me. They were just things that I thought that I should be doing, especially with business administration. I would be crying right now. I think I would have passed, but I don't think it's something I enjoyed. Like, it's not, business is not something that drives me, you know? Like, I care about, business is great, let me be clear. Business is great because that's where we make our money. But I'm not a business minded person. I'm not. Like, I'm not a risk taker like that. I take risks in other parts of my life, but business is really about taking risks. Like, I studied entrepreneurship and I know what an entrepreneur is. I am not that. In fact, I cannot believe I took all those classes because I really thought I was going to be a business person. Maybe I would have been successful, but I do know I would have been miserable. Anyway, I'm grateful that, I only attended a semester in the university and then, it was time to move here. So when I moved, when we were planning on moving here, my mom had different plans. Like, for us, how we're going to make money, but also go to school and integrate into the American society. So when I moved here, we went to community college. I got in, but the intention of community college, like going to college, I thought I was going to be a nurse or something in the healthcare field, but in the clinical side. Because if you observe, a lot of Africans go for that route. A lot of them, because it is a safer route in terms of safety. Like, I've seen that because I've been in healthcare for all these years. With healthcare, you always have a job. Like, in COVID, we had jobs. Even though people were quitting and everything, we were needed, you know? So I think that's why my mom wanted me to get into healthcare because it's something that you can enter at any time, but you can also thrive in. But to be a nurse, I don't know what my mom saw in me. She believed in me, but I did, yeah. Anyway, I went to my advisor. They created the classes for me and told me that, oh, you're going to be doing biology, chemistry, math. I took so many classes. And at the time, I was flowing. I was going with the flow of this is going to be hard, but it must be done because what else am I going to do? My sister was doing business administration in this country, and I was like, no, no, this is not for me. The business administration here is not the same as Uganda, but I'm not going to say that they're easy either way. Like, they're both hard. So I knew that I had to make it work. In my first biology classes, things were okay. Dealing with dead, smelly animals was a test, but I felt like, okay, I just have to get used to this. But looking back, I did not enjoy that process. Like the process of cutting dead animals and looking at them and doing all this stuff. But when I was with my colleagues or like other students, people were excited in these classes. People were so excited for lab. And I think I used to think about lab like, ugh, I don't want to go. Like this is so boring, but everyone was excited for lab. So I say that to say that your feelings sometimes show you what you actually care about and what you don't. Because for me, when I look back, that was so clear that I was not excited about something I should have been excited about. For anyone who's interested in sciences, the practical part is the most exciting part. And also, in college, you cannot skip those labs. Like, you're going to fail the class if you skip the labs. Because I do have a habit of skipping classes. Like, well, I did have that habit. This habit is not a young habit. Like I've skipped classes ever since I was young. I'm sorry, mom, if you're watching this, but I just skip classes. That's what I do. But these ones, you couldn't even skip them because you have to make your own notes in your own lab book and all this stuff. Anyway, I'm drifting off of this story, but we need to get from the beginning to the end so you understand how I got into this career. So I got my B's at the end of this semester. I think I got B's and a C, I think. Who knows? All I know is that in healthcare, well, at least here in this country, you can't be getting a C, below a C, and pass the class. You cannot. You have to take the class again. So I barely passed my biology classes. Math. Pre-calc was great. Pre-calculus. What was another one? Was it statistics? Like there was these are the classes that were great. I did great in those math classes. But then I had to do calculus in like my second semester or third. Woo! Calculus was the decision for me to not be a nurse or to not be in anything clinical because I saw calculus 1, calculus 2. Based off of my advisor, I still had more math classes to take. I still had more biology classes to take. And I was barely passing them. And we're only at the beginning. I feel like at the beginning, before things get really tough, is when a lot of us do great. But I was not doing great. I was already struggling. So for me, I took that sign very seriously. Like, I'm not about to fail while paying for these classes. Like, absolutely not. So, we came to a tough decision. When I say we, is me, myself, and I, because I had to sit myself down in different conversations. Like, how am I going to tell my mom that I actually don't want to do this? Because I am not going to do it. Anyway, I got the balls to tell her, but I think that I think that I was already in too deep to even convince. So I was trying to tell her that I cannot do this class. I can't do these classes if I'm paying this much and I think I'm going to fail. And I was told that even when you have A's and B's, cuz when you're in when you're doing your associate degree, you're working towards entering nursing school, right? I was told that even if you have your A's and B's, you might still not get into the nursing schools because they're very competitive. They only take a couple of students. So I said, I'm going to work so hard. Sleep, not sleep. Work. Do all these things. And then not get into the school, even after I have the grades. Like, for me, all that information was just, this is not it for me. Anyway, I told my mother that I was not going to do it, although I was still interested in healthcare because I did enjoy the things I had learned so far about, different things. So I was like, I actually do enjoy the healthcare field. I just don't want the clinical side. So my sister had already joined a four-year college, and thank God for that experience because during this during that conversation, I was saying that is if I was saying that I just want to do healthcare, but the administration, like the things that don't require me to be responsible for patient outcomes, you know? Well, I mean, even in administration, you kind of still are responsible for some patient outcomes, but it's not very direct like a doctor, like a nurse. Like you are held accountable. And I feel like you need to have a certain level of confidence and knowledge and passion. And I think I lacked all three of those things. So, yeah, my sister was going, she had a friend who was doing health administration and policy. So during that time, she came and told me about that course that, oh, if you're coming to this college, you could do this course. And I was like, when I researched the course, I was like, this course is for me because healthcare administration and policy is really about managing any hospital setting or any or any healthcare setting like clinics or hospitals, any facility that is serving people, specifically healthcare. So yeah, that's how I got into this career. Now, with coaching, when I got into when I got into college and got into the healthcare system and everything, at the time I was volunteering at a hospital. But also at the time, I was working in a pharmacy because I applied to be because I wanted to enhance my healthcare experience and knowledge. I applied to be a pharmacy technician. In the state of Virginia, you have to be certified to get that job. There's some other states where you can just go and apply and do the job, but in this state you need to be certified. So I'm grateful that I was able to practice as a technician for about, was it 4 or 5 years? And during that time I got all this experiences on drugs, on patients, on how race, on how our demographics, let me say demographics, how they play a role in in the health care that we get. Let me say that. That if you're a black person, you're going to receive completely different care from a Caucasian. During my time in pharmacy is when I realized that the healthcare field is also a hot mess. That there are challenges, like real challenges that medication cannot fix. Like during my time in pharmacy, I realized that medication is great. Medication can save lives. But also there's an extreme when it comes to medication. There's a dependency on medications, especially in this country. There is doctors who enable patients and doctors who are bossed around by their patients, which I think is unethical. Let me explain. When when your patient can call you and command that you write them a prescription and tell you that, oh, I'll pay you this much, write me a prescription, that kind of stuff, that's what I saw in pharmacy. Of course, there's doctors that are great, but why should we? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones who do things that are not right. But also, there's things that are beyond doctors and care providers. Insurance. Oh, insurance. I think about insurance and I honestly want to cry. The scam of insurance. Insurance is great when you have chronic illnesses, when you have things that require insurance every month. But for some people who barely use their insurance, And then the one time they need it, they come and their copay is like, oh, you have the insurance tells you have a $500 deductible. Meanwhile, your drug costs like $5. But because you have a $500 deductible that you must meet, now you have to pay $505. Oh, insurance. I know they have their own reasons, but I got into the healthcare system and I was just like, whoa. I also served at a um what should I call it? It's a clinic that was helping underprivileged people, people who are homeless, who don't have food, who don't have shelter, who don't have access to health care. And then during that time, I also realized that there's some amazing people in healthcare. People who want to serve. They don't care about the money. They just want to help people in their communities. They just want to give back, and they have set up systems that intend to help people. But also at the same time, I was like, people do this to save money on taxes. There's so much there's so much in the healthcare field that is so weird, very weird, and I don't know how. I'm not saying I have the solutions, but I observed a lot. And during that time, I said that, well, I didn't say, but I was thinking that I wanted to be a part of the solution. Like when I was in pharmacy, I remember my last year in pharmacy was in this dermatology pharmacy where I said, this is my last year in pharmacy. Like at that time, I was over it because it's so real. It's just so real when you're dealing with patients who have real life circumstances, real life problems, but everything around them is against them. Like you have this real life condition, but your insurance is against you. You don't have the money to pay for these things. Your environment does not support the disease that you have. I was thinking that healthcare is so much more than the drugs. It's so much more than the food that we eat. It's healthcare is in community. Healthcare is in relationships. It's in feeling safe and feeling like you're taken care of by just the people around you, by your government, by the people that you've trusted, that you've given power. That is healthcare to me. Well, I guess these days we're just using words to make up our own definitions, which I just did right there for healthcare. But at the time, I realized that healthcare is so much more than giving people drugs or giving them solutions on doing things. Like, there's so many other things that connect to someone's health. Like, our mindsets, how we deal with our emotions. There's so many things that play into our health. So, at the time when I left pharmacy, I actually got a job in a hospital, managing in a hospital. And then in that time at the hospital, my my feelings about healthcare were confirmed. The things that I just said, that healthcare now is like a business. If you going into a hospital and things like that, like it's very much profit minded than, patient outcome minded. Well, unless like there's some adverse events and now it's going to be patient outcome minded, but people are very much motivated by profits. I don't care what anyone says. But is that what healthcare should be like? I think that we should have a discussion about this, like all of us together. Healthcare providers, patients, vendors, everyone, to have a conversation about what truly contributes to our health. Because I really don't think it's just one thing. It's not just the food, it's not just the drugs, it's not just education, it's not just money. Like there's just so many other things. For example, if you're in perfect health right now, like you don't have any problem, your body is working fine, you don't have any pain, you don't have anything, You're in your house, everything is good, you have your heat on, you have resources. But right outside your house, people are shooting, people are killing themselves. You step outside your house, you don't know if your car is going to be there or if you're going to find your tires on. Are you really healthy? I don't think you're healthy because you don't feel safe. Like, yes, your body is fine, everything is working fine, but you don't feel safe. I need for us to connect healthcare with safety and to have that discussion of what makes people feel safe. And we'll talk about their environments, we'll talk about their mental health, their mindsets, their perceptions, their emotional states, you know, their financial states. We will talk about all these things. But up until we have that discussion, I feel like the field of healthcare is just a hot mess. And I feel like this entire episode has just been me kind of complaining about what healthcare is. But I'm not complaining just to complain. Like, I'm complaining out of frustration. I feel like there needs to be more attention on this, especially from healthcare providers. Like, we need to really be invested in patients and not in just giving them the solution, but in finding out why their health is not where they want it to be, you know? Like, finding out why people are unhealthy is so much more helpful than just giving them the solution, because we give them the solution and then the problem keeps reoccurring because we haven't taken the time to address the root. So, when I was in the hospital, I was assigned to the mental health unit, behavioral health unit. And on this specific unit is people who are suffering from mental health conditions. And that goes from the acute stage to, the manageable stage. And on this unit was also kids, like there was teenagers who were suffering from mental health issues as well, alcoholics. There was so many people on that unit, but I learned a lot when I was on that unit because, firstly, before when I was being taken there, because I was a new hire, they're like, Sophia, you seem like you will be able to handle this unit. And the pep talk I received was more of like, oh, these people are very, let me not say dangerous, but I was given that, like, you should kind of be scared, but don't be scared, because it's the mental health unit, anything can happen, blah blah blah. And during those conversations, I realized how much healthcare providers have not been taught about how to speak about patients. You cannot, when we're talking about mental health patients or people who are suffering from any mental health conditions, there has to be a professional way to talk about them, a way that doesn't shame them or make them feel like they're less than. Even though they don't hear us, there needs to be a way we talk about them. So for me, I felt like these people were othered or were made to feel like it's going to be hard to deal with them over there, but you can do it, Sophia. So for me, I love a challenge. I love a challenge. So I thought I was going to be even more challenged than I actually was. I got onto this unit and people are very normal. Very, very normal. You know, of course on the acute unit, there's some people who might be unstable, but they're not unstable to a point where I felt unsafe, you know? Besides, there's security everywhere. But I felt like some of my colleagues talked about these patients like I don't want to say the words that they said, but I didn't like what they said about them. So for me, I realized that the field of healthcare needs to be reformed or rebuilt. I don't even think it should be reformed because it just, to reform something, it's like we're changing a little bit, but this thing needs to be broken down and built back up. And when they're building back up, they need to put in some doctors, some healthcare professionals who have the interests of marginalized communities, like who've people who've put their interests first, people who prioritize black people, or it doesn't even have to be black people, anyone who is treated as minority. Like there needs to be some kind of representation for those people, because I'm telling you, the prejudice, the biases in the healthcare field that eventually affect people's patient care, it's just too much. Like it's so frustrating, honestly. But yeah, I want to talk about that when I was on the behavioral health unit, the mental health unit, because on that unit I met so many psychiatrists, so many therapists, and I was talking to this one psychiatrist who we became friends, and during that time, we talk about so many things as I'm making rounds, but this one time he tells me that, you would really be a good coach. Like, through the things that we were talking about, and yeah, he just told me that. But when he told me that, a friend of mine had also told me that. Like, she had called me and told me, you know how your friends hit you up like, "Hey, Sophia, I'm going through something. Can we talk? Are you available to talk?" Like, of course I'm available. So when I got off work, I called my friend, and she was just telling me about her life, and I just told her what I thought. Honestly, I didn't think anything I said was profound, but after that entire conversation, she told me that, Sophia, you really would be a great coach, because maybe based off of our conversations, the things that we were talking about, she saw something in me. So she said that, and then when that psychotherapist told me that psychiatrist, like, actually he was a psychotherapist. I confused the two, psychotherapist and psychiatrist. But after he told me that I should be a coach, and I just heard it from my friend as well, I took that as a sign. And at the time, maybe I shouldn't have taken it as a sign, but there was so many other things that were communicating this thing to me of, you need to use the knowledge and the information and the experiences that you've had to serve other people, but not just to serve them, but to guide them, like to guide, because right now I think that I'm serving people based off of the content that I'm putting out. But when I'm working one on one with a client, I'm literally guiding them to the place that they want to be. So I felt like I wanted to have that kind of impact on someone and on someone's life, because my friends already told me that I got it. To be honest, my friends play a big role in me becoming a coach, because they're the ones who told me so many things. Like, I gathered so many compliments that added up to me actually being a good coach. Like, there's some things that your friends tell you and you take for granted, but they actually mean something, especially if they keep saying it over and over and over. For example, if you come to me and every time you leave me, you feel like you have more clarity on the problem that you have, or you feel like you just heard. I'm not always giving advice, but maybe you felt like you were heard when you were talking to me. I took those compliments, and I realized that I had a strength. Like, I had a specific strength, and being in healthcare, it made so much sense. You know, as a, if you don't know what, because I am an integrated life and wellness coach, but if you don't know what that coach does, I, if say you hired me to coach you, I would be working with any other healthcare provider that you're working with. For example, if you have a doctor who's helping you with, a specific condition that you have, if you hired me as your coach, with your permission, of course, I would talk to that doctor. We would work together with that doctor to make sure you are receiving the best care. For example, if, let's say, in your plan that we have this week, maybe you're going to do an hour of physical exercise every day. But then maybe your doctor gave you some medication that makes you feel drowsy. With that communication between me and your doctor, there's some kind of understanding of telling your doctor that, oh, should I slow down? Because as a coach, I actually don't have any power over a doctor, but it's just like we are working together to give you the best care that you need. And I'm only talking about one doctor there. There's people who have multiple doctors. Like if you have chronic illnesses, or if you have different illnesses that require different specialty doctors and things like that. You're going to have like 5 doctors. So an integrative coach is going to help integrate this healthcare, integrate all these things into your plan. And of course, that goes with the patient approving that, you know, we all work together because we don't want any HIPAA violations. But I think that's so important because we used to have patients who, let me not say patients, let me talk about myself. Let's say I have a doctor who's helping me with my migraines, but I also have a doctor who's helping me with my knee problems. Sometimes these doctors would prescribe medications at the same time, but the medications they're prescribing go against each other, meaning that the patient is going to be experiencing very many negative side effects. So, of course, the pharmacist catches that. But I'm always thinking that what happens for people who don't have, pharmacists? Because this is America, but I'm thinking about my country in Uganda when different doctors are working together and giving you different medications. They don't know how these medications work together. It's like someone needs to be there to speak for the patient, to advocate for the patient, and that would be me as a coach. To ask questions like, oh, what are the side effects of this medication? What are the side effects of this medication? And letting the patient know that on these medications, you might feel like it's not like I'm advising them, but I'm letting them know that based off of our plan, these medications are going to take away your energy. They might make you feel a bit drowsy. So maybe let's do some stretching instead of running. Do you see what I mean? It's like we're working together to help a patient become their best selves. And I really love that I went I decided to be that specific kind of coach because the training and certification to be that specific kind of coach is very different. And yeah. So I think that my main reason for joining this career, like being a coach, was to help people become their best selves and using my experiences in healthcare, in just life, to guide them through that. But not just that, using also facts, using opinions that are rooted in science. And yeah, using that to help them, not just talking and, telling them to do this and do that. I wanted to have a very personal experiences, very personal experience, a very personal experience with anyone that I talk to, and to make them feel like they have the power to change their lives, because that's what a coach does. If you have a coach and they're telling you what to do, I'm not going to say it's a bad coach, but I don't advise that you tell people what to do. You only give them options and then they choose if they're going to do that or no. Um, you give them options of what could work, and then they decide to do the thing or not. And if they're not doing the thing, that's when you come in as a coach to help them unwind the thing that's blocking them from doing. We're not here to make people do things. We're here to guide them. Like, I'm like a tour guide. I am a tour guide giving you a tour of yourself, of your mental system, your emotional system, your physical system, your spiritual system, and making sure that all these systems are in harmony or balance. But I think that I kind of explained why I got into this career. I think I did. Um, yeah, I think I explained how. I think I explained more of how I got into this career. But ultimately, I'm passionate. I am very passionate. I'm passionate about people. And actually, seeing how people were treated during my time in hospitals and clinics and pharmacies and all these things is actually what fully pushed me to pursue coaching, to use that knowledge to show people, to teach people, and to help people unlock some things. Because we all need someone who believes in us, don't we? Like, we need someone who sees who sees the best in us, who sees our potential, who sees who we can be. And that's what I am. I actually think that even outside of coaching, that right there is my personal strength. I see everyone's power, everyone's unique power, to be specific, because we all have our unique abilities. And I believe one of my purposes on this world, because I believe I have so many things to fulfill, but one of my purposes is to help people see themselves, help people see who they really are, and become their best selves. And to help them on that path, to walk with them, because sometimes it can get lonely. And then that's where you call me up. Sometimes it could get really sad. That's where you call me up on that journey, you know? For some people, I'm already there as a friend, but, well, once I start taking on clients, I know I haven't taken on clients for a while, but yeah, once I start doing that, then yeah, I'll be walking with a lot of people. I want to say, oh Lord, I want to say that I haven't taken on as many clients as I want to, because I'm just not ready to fully immerse myself as a coach. Right now, I want to coach more of like the public thing, but the one-on-one, I'm not yet ready for that, because that requires a different mindset. And right now, I still have a full-time job that really takes away from the time that I would be coaching someone. And then on my weekends, I be recording. So it's like right now, I just want to share what I know with the general public. And then later, I will integrate the one on one coaching or group coaching, depending. I don't know what I'm going to start with first. But yeah, I hope you will be one of my very first clients when the time comes. Actually, I will only be taking women, so if you are a man, we cannot work together. At least not on the one on one. Honestly, even in the group setting, I don't know. I don't think I want to coach men like that. Yeah. If you want to know why, I can answer that, but probably in the next video, or if you leave me a comment, yeah, I can answer that in the next Q&A. Anyway, I hope you kind of got an understanding of how I even got into coaching and healthcare. Yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day and rest of the week, since this is Monday when you're watching this. God willing. I will see you in my next episode. Don't forget to stay connected to yourself and to the world around you. Deuces.